In this lesson, I want to talk about arrays. Arrays. And usually the word array is associated with, the military. People are arrayed for battle. That means they're all set up in groups and in formations, and they're ready to go into battle. So the term array is usually associated then with creating groups and creating sets. Well, in CAD, we can use the array function to create multiple sets of items. We can use a regular array where we're putting items, length and width, or we can use something called a polar array where we're arranging groups and sets in a circular motion around a radius. So let's dive in and play around with arrays. Here I have a group of stars. They're arranged in a little pattern, but I want to expand this little pattern. So let me highlight them and let me go to the array function. So the array function is right here, and it says a rectangular array distributes objects copied into any combination of rows, columns, and levels. It creates an array of rows, columns of the copied selected object. So let's go. Now, I just set that group in array, and what I want to do is change the way these are spaced out. So it just kind of randomly spaced them out for me. Do I want 4 columns? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Let's do 5 columns. And how many rows do I want? So let's do 10 rows. And then my spacing between them. So this has got like 7 between them. Let's see what happens if we go to 3. And there's spacing between those. We'll set it 3 and we'll hit enter. And there it did change it. So what I've got here now is I've got this field of stars, and it's based on the number of columns and the number of rows. I had 10 rows. 10 might have been a little bit big, and 5 may have not been big enough for the number of columns. However, as you can see now, I've got a beautiful star-spangled array that I can use to create a flag. So this is the regular array function. So let me close the array function. Once you create an array, the array becomes one single object. So for instance, if I touch anywhere on here, I light the whole thing. In order to edit or delete or trim any of this, I have to first explode it. So, I hit the explode function, boom, and now I can highlight an individual star in my array. And if I wanted to, then I could, get rid of a bunch of them. So that is how to do a rectangular array. I can do this with lines. I can do this with any kind of shapes. Now let's try a polar array. Let's try a polar array. So here we go, polar array. Okay, here I have a bicycle wheel, and I have created one spoke. And I could sit here for quite some time and go ahead and draw every single spoke in this bicycle rim, but that would be very time consuming. And how do I know I'm going to get the angles correct? Well, I can use the polar array function to distribute spokes all around this bicycle wheel. So if I go ahead and highlight those spokes, and now I'm going to come up here to the array function, but I'm going to hit the down arrow and go to a polar array. I need to specify the center point of my array, which there's my center point. And as you can see, I've got spokes all around my bicycle tire. Well, 6 spokes is not enough spokes. So maybe we should make it like 36 spokes and see what happens. And that looks better. So we can hit escape. And now we've got a nice bicycle wheel using the polar array function. So using an array, again, is to create sets of objects in a particular formation. You can see it can be quite useful. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use the array function to create drawings.